one of the things that I've seen in an OEM is that typically some of these enterprise product companies which pick a startup and they want to OEM their product, they sometimes seek a lot of customizations, right? And now the problem with customizations, particularly for a company, for a startup, right? So the startup has to customize it significantly so that it fits into the overall enterprise proposition. Now the challenge for the startup is that if it's still in its early growth stage of the if it's still in an early stage of its growth, then that could be a significant distraction for them. Okay, number one. And number two, it will definitely hamper their own product development cycle. And perhaps at the end of the day, they may end up having multiple versions of the same product, which can become a liability, somewhere down the line. So my recommendation really for startups is that if there is a lot of customizations to be done, and if you're in a very early stage, unless that relationship is going to be very, very strategic and is going to fetch you something significant, it is better to stay away from that, because, and so I'm specifically talking about SaaS companies, right? Because your SaaS, it's all about recurring revenue, and it's about how fast you can, keep adding innovation to your product and how much you can standardize it. But if you customize it too much and another version comes out of it, then you will really struggle. So that's really the first point. The second point is that I think it's important for these startups to be able to build their own brand, significantly ramp up, their own, sales organizations, and perhaps look at OEM in specific sectors, rather than going all over the place with OEM. So you have to be very strategic with your OEM. You got to figure out, why do you want to do it? Is it a new market entry strategy, that is prompting you to do it? Or are you picking out components from your product and only offering a few of them so that you don't dilute your entire brand? So I think, startup founders need to be very strategic. I mean, they should look at it actively because there are lots of opportunities out there, but they also need to be extremely, extremely strategic. Now, the third thing that I see is that I think, if you have a great proposition and you have a great innovation, then you also should try and negotiate a deal where you can get a byline powered by, right? And a lot of companies are open to that now, because they know that, ultimately, okay, I'm offering a solution in my larger platform to my customer. But if my customer knows that, hey, this powered by company is one of those great innovations and forward looking, then, it changes the imagery. So there could be a rub off of that branding as well. So we are encouraging a lot of our innovative startups to really look at, as part of the deal, to really say that, we'd like it, you can have your core brand there, but, we also want a little powered by over there. So that's really, from the startups, perspective. And, from the larger enterprises perspective, I mean, they also could have dilution, right? I mean, if they have a number of these OEMs plugged in, what would be the perception of the customer? But I think customers to my mind, have gone beyond it. I think it's all about, are my needs as a customer being met? I think customers are also matured. I think they're also looking at, hey, are my needs being met? Am I getting an ROI on my investment? And is there a significant transformation happening? So I think the bigger brands, I think it's really a debate for them between, build versus buy versus partner. And to my mind, they should be less concerned about it because they have a lot to lose if they don't have the right proposition for their customer and they don't have the speed. So I think a brand would be less of an issue for them. It could be bigger issue for the startup, but if the startup is strategic in their approach, and I've alluded to some of the points, I think it could be a great win-win proposition, and brand dilution really could be managed effectively.